then she said that I shouldn't do that. And I was like, what the heck's going on? How am I not supposed to do that? And she's like, it's your problem, not mine.
Really?
Yeah. Awesome,
I didn't see that coming.
Wow. No kidding.
Oh, the classic rural juror intro.
It's called a cold open.
Cold open.
We're going to be doing 4 of those tonight.
A cold opening.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All this terminology that I'm not familiar with.
We could teach you stuff.
Wow.
That's right.
I don't know if I want to learn it, guys.
You're still going to learn it.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Bar Bash. I'm Amy from Unmistakably You. I am a wedding planner and educator here in London, and I'm super excited that you're joining us tonight for the second night of the Bar Bash. Tonight we are here with these two guys who I'm going to let introduce themselves, and
Hi.
we're going to talk about craft beer.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jay,
Hi, I'm Seth.
and we're from the Rural Juror Brewery Tour.
Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope you like what we're talking about tonight, because we do. It's beer and it's tasty.
Yes. Lots of craft beer.
Awesome. I like craft beer, and
You
Like
should
you
subscribe
guys,
to
so-
our
You
YouTube
should.
channel.
I have subscribed to your YouTube channel.
Awesome.
Actually.
So you were the one.
I thought it was your mom.
I'm one of a few.
We don't talk about my mom.
It doesn't matter. She doesn't watch.
This is true.
Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. We are going to get down to business really quickly and taste some delicious craft beer from here in London, Ontario. If you're not from London, that's all good, because apparently there's something like 952 craft breweries in Canada these
Well,
days.
we're not just tasting beers from London. So we're tasting
Oh.
beers that are available in the LCBO. So that
Okay.
way people, hopefully all around on Ontario, could get it easily. I think there are 2 actually from London.
Yeah, because
But,
represent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not just from London area.
I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Like
Thank you.
seated, but yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we're tasting a couple of beers from London,
Sure.
but craft beer is a very popular thing right now, and definitely something that is a great option for you to bring into your wedding if you're looking for something that's a reflection of you and what you enjoy, what you and your partner enjoy doing together, perhaps. If you're one of those craft beer fans who just can't bring themselves to have Bud on their menu,
Oh, good God.
we have
Yeah.
we have
Don't
got
do that.
lots of choices for you tonight in many different categories, and the guys are going to talk you through what to taste for and what you should be sort of picking up on, what your guests will enjoy, things to avoid when it comes to putting extra beer on your bar menu. So if you're at a venue like a hotel or a golf course or a banquet hall, chances are pretty good they have an established beer list, but in many cases they will be amenable to you adding something on to that. So have that conversation with your venue manager, with your catering manager, with your bar manager, and talk about how you can bring in something specific that you know that you would enjoy and your guests would enjoy. Of course, if you're running your own bar, if you're on private property, or if you're at a barn or a community center or somewhere where they're allowing you to hold your own special occasion permit, you are free to bring in anything that you like. So
That would
the
be
sky
awesome.
is the limit. Guys, do you have any recommendations just about generally what people might want to think about or stay away from when they're looking for sort of a universally appealing
Well, I mean,
beer?
I know that there's always the whole thing of large breweries as opposed to small ones, and I mean, we're lucky in the London area. We have Labatt's, that's been the hometown brewery forever, so it does employ people, and that's great. However, if you think of it from the idea of supporting local, we are supporting workers, whether it's Anderson Ales or Labatt, but the profits are not staying in this area.
Absolutely, and keeping not just the work local, but the ingredients local, helping the entire ecosystem. That's part of the reason you would want to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you can find something that you enjoy drinking, then that's just another plus. So the idea of just supporting what we can is as close to home as we can. Yeah. So I guess the big thing for weddings is to try to find something that, like you said, that you like, but also know your audience. So
assume that the spouse is the one you would like as well, right? They
Yeah,
have to
yes,
come.
I meant
So
the beer.
involve them in that decision too. No?
I don't know.
Depends on the spouse? Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe we don't take the marriage advice from these guys, just the beer advice.
I don't know.
Sorry, ladies.
Yeah, this is my third one.
This
Wait.
week.
Is that wrong to say that? Did I just say that out loud? Oh,
Yeah.
anyways. Okay.
Consider your audience,
Yeah, that's
consider your
right.
crowd,
Consider
consider
the
your food.
audience. Yeah, but consider your audience. So if you have a whole, if all of your family drinks Bud Light, and they are very adamant that they're going to drink Bud Light, you should probably have some Bud Light there for them, or something along those lines. However, you can also maybe help get them a beer that they will also enjoy. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, trying to keep that idea of what your family or guests usually drink, and maybe shifting them a little bit to just a little bit outside of their comfort area.
Yeah, push
Try
those
something new.
boundaries.
Yeah.
I like that suggestion.
Yeah. And the other thing too, actually, there's a number of breweries that, depending on when you talk to them and the quantity that you're going to buy, some will actually do different labels for you. I know some, and sometimes if they'll sell off old stock. So a few breweries I've gone and I've looked at the beer and said, oh, I don't recognize this one, and they said, oh, that was for so and so's wedding that we made up, a friend of ours, and we just had some left over. So it's just their normal beer, whatever it would be, lager, IPA, sour, whatever the couple wants. And sometimes you can actually get labels put on, like you would at a winery.
Yeah, we've been doing that with wine for a long time, but
yeah, I think Keeley does that.
Keeley does with wine for sure. Yeah.
And a few things. So sometimes the breweries will also do that as well, which is kind of neat. That would be kind of fun. But again, it just depends on the brewery and how busy they are and how far in advance and how much you're going to buy. Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about number of beers that you should have on your menu? I know if you're catering to like my brothers who are going to drink their Bud Light and then you're going to bring in a craft beer, how many different choices would you recommend?
So that would depend on the venue and whether or not they have a set list that they're already going to be doing. So if they're already doing the bat beers, so the Blue and the Bud and the Keiths, and they're already doing all of that, that may limit your options. But personally, I think you could probably cover all tastes with just 4 kinds of beer.
Okay.
And we're going to go into those 4 kinds of beer tonight with some additional ideas in case something we recommend doesn't quite. Am I spoiling stuff?
No.
Should I put a spoiler alert up there?
No. And I was going to say also depend on when you're getting married. So if you're going to get married in the winter, then you might think about certain types of beer over others. And same with summertime and all that stuff. Obviously, most people get married in the summer, but not this summer. So maybe there'll be a lot of people getting married in the winter.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, which is that. But anyways, there's those kind of considerations you can look at too.
Right. And I usually advise people, if they're running their own bar on their own private property, that usually, like you said, 3 or maybe 4 is sufficient, because you also don't want to have 8 open cases at the end of the night of,
Well, it depends on what you do the next day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not that it would be a hardship to drink it, but.
Yeah.
But see, the other thing too is I don't know what the craft breweries have. So I know that if you get a special occasions permit and you buy a bunch of beer from the beer store, if it's an unopened case and you have the receipt, I think you can take
they
it
will
back.
return it. Yeah.
I don't know if that is the case if you went to a craft.
If you went direct to the craft brewery.
I don't know that for sure, because usually if they sell a case, it's essentially just cans snapped together with 6s. So I don't.
And I wouldn't count on this in COVID times either.
No, yeah, absolutely. So I mean, there is a difference there. So I don't know what their rules are. I've never I've never taken beer back to a brewery. I don't know if that's
me neither.
Yeah, I've never. I have taken it back to a beer store after someone's wedding, but
and the LCBO will take back unused beer as well.
Yeah, and bottles and stuff like that.
Yep.
But yeah, like you said though, you don't want to have a whole lot left over, unless of course it's beer that you like.
Of course.
So
which is what we're going to find out right now.
Awesome. So why don't we start with the easy one? Why don't we start with lagers?
So when you're thinking lagers, if you don't know what that is, what you're thinking is that Bud Light, the Blue, the Molson Canadian. You're thinking of something that the fizzy yellow stuff that almost anyone would enjoy.
Like Corona, not the virus, but the beer.
Well said.
Thank you.
Coors Light,
Stella, even. Yeah. So this one that we've sort of talked about is the London Brewing Co-op. It is their organic lager.
And when you search for it, you might find it under London Brewing Co-op. You might also just find it under London Brewing.
That's correct, actually. You're right. The can actually now says London Brewing. They used to be a co-op. I don't know if they still are. Do you know if they're still a co-op?
I don't think they are, but I haven't talked to anyone there. So
Okay. I was just there. I should have asked. I don't know. Anyways, so it might come up under co-op. It might come up under brewing. Some of their beers actually in the LCBO come under both. So you just have to kind of check for it. But this is like I said, their London Organic Lager.
now when it comes to lagers, because most of them are an easy drinking beer, you're going to get basically the same beer taste, but there are variations within that. So if you compare those ones that we've talked about, some of them are going to have a little more malty flavor. Some of them are going to have a banana finish to them, but it's a very subtle finish.
Yeah.
So you're just looking for something that's easy to drink here, and there are going to be slight differences between all of them.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of beers that are sold in the beer store are a lager. So, flavor, taste, that everyone has their own preferences, but essentially you're looking for a straw yellow color. They can be darker. This one is a nice straw yellow, very clear, not cloudy or hazy or anything like that. Usually they'll be, somewhat carbonated, but not super carbonated, just like you'd have in a bottle of beer.
Yeah.
In your commercial kind of beer.
This is the beer that you want to get for people who walk up to a bar and say, do you have any beer that tastes like beer?
Yes.
And what they mean is, do you have a beer that doesn't have too much hop or too much malt or too much stout caramel flavors and all of that? They just want beer.
Yeah.
They just want something easy to drink that 5% roughly, and most lagers are going to sit at about 5%, and they'll have that.
Yeah. So if you smell this one,
I'm getting yeast off the nose.
Yeah.
So it smells a little bit like bread dough.
Yeah, a little bit like bread or biscuit. You get into that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You can get a little bit of sweetness from the smell, a little floral. But
and this is just when you taste the flavor, it's just a little bit of bitter at the back of the tongue, but not much at all. And bitter's a good thing in beer, depending on how much you want, but a little bitter at the back of the tongue. And then you get a little bit of that, the center of white bread flavor to it, a little biscuity maybe.
You get, so the middle of the taste that you're going to get is the malt. So that's the sort of caramel kind of flavor that you're getting. And then, or that idea. And then at the end, the crispness is just how dry it leaves your mouth. Does it leave it sweet like a wine? Is your wine sweet? Is it dry? Is this beer, is it leaving it a dry taste in your mouth or crisp? Or is it sweet on the finish? So this one, I find this one is nice and crisp, but it's not like sharp, like a green apple or anything like that kind of crisp. It's just a nice end to this.
It's not sour. It's just clean and easy to drink.
Yes.
And it doesn't have a lingering aftertaste. As well, it has some, but not as much as some other beers will.
Yeah.
It just kind of finishes cleanly.
Yes.
And this is, if you're going to host a wedding, I would say that this is the type of beer you buy the most of, the one that the majority of people are going to want to be drinking. So your lager or your pilsner, which is also a very light type of beer, would be the thing that you'd have the most of as you went into the evening.
Yeah.
I'm envisioning, if I were enjoying this at a cocktail hour when there are past hors d'oeuvres coming around, it's going to go with pretty much everything. It's very sort of neutral and
absolutely
easy to drink for sure.
Yes, this doesn't. It's not. It does not. It goes, like you said, it goes with everything, and there's nothing that doesn't go with it.
Unlike all of your outfits.
That's right.
They go with
yeah. What tie dye and camo? They don't go together.
Imagine that.
Oh, man.
Maybe get some new shoes.
Newsflash, folks.
Shoes. I
Now
just
you-
bought new shoes.
Sorry to cut into your wardrobe conversation here, but
Yeah.
you mentioned that slight bitterness. Now I know people are always surprised when they see me drinking beer because I do like beer, but I drink wine more often. And what I don't like in a beer is that really super bitter, which I'm absolutely not getting from this.
Right.
But am I hijacking things if I ask you about IBU right now?
No, that's fine. So the reason that lagers. Oh, sorry.
She directed it toward me.
Sorry.
I'm just saying. Like I get that we're in the middle here, but it was toward me.
I directed it that away.
Like, give me a second.
Oh
let me get my ideas out here.
Children.
Sorry, Mom. So IBU refers to International Bitterness Units.
Which I have a lot of right now.
I bet you do. You'll get over it one day. Cry a little. It'll help. So what it refers to is just how bitter the beer is, how it finishes, how that taste is in there. And you're going to get a lot higher IBU, or international bitterness units, in things like IPAs and some of the pale ales and English bitters, understandably. If you go by the titular bitters there. I just wanted to say that word. Right. But nonetheless, it's just an index of how bitter a beer is going to finish. This would have a very low bitterness. I'd say the low, just under the teens. It's got a little bitterness in the finish. If you want something.
Yeah, there we go. It's under 20.
What can I say? I know what I'm talking about. I'm as shocked as everyone.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's the reason that you usually don't get very bitter in lagers is because they're actually bottom fermented. And when the yeast.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, well, so on a lager, the yeast is eating away at the sugars at the bottom of the tank, whereas an ale is at the top. The thing is with lagers, though, you ferment them at a cooler temperature. So when you add hops, there's still hops in this beer, in any beer, but because of the cooler temperature, it doesn't draw out the bitterness. So if you have an ale, it's usually top fermented, like I said, and at a higher temperature. So that draws out a lot of the bitterness from the hops. So most lagers don't have very much bitterness, and commercial ones don't, because hops are very expensive.
Okay.
So, and to make something very bitter, it takes a lot of hops added at the right time in the brewing process.
Now we're really lucky in Ontario because hops grow like weeds here, which
true.
Might be why we've got, what did you say, 932?
I think it was 952. Yeah.
952.
Is it actually?
I read that somewhere.
And I'm sure more and more every day. But they just like they're growing in your backyard, they're growing in my backyard, and they're wonderfully fragrant. So if you ever get the chance to get some fresh hops, just rub it between your fingers like an herb, and it's just amazing. You can actually begin to identify which hops are used in different beers the more you do that.
That's right. Yeah, each different hop has a different character and adds different flavors and smells and everything else to the beer. So there's some beers will actually have a variety of hops that are used. Some are more fragrant than others. Others add a fruitiness like a mango. Others add more just, straight up piney kind of bitterness, which we'll get to in a little bit. But
yeah, this is an easy one to drink. Goes down quickly and easily.
Yeah. London Brewing Co-op or London Brewing.
London Brewing.
Their organic lager.
Yeah. Do you have some other lagers that you might recommend if this one's not available?
Actually, yes. So the Creemore. Actually, Amy, could you hand me that one just to sort of show it? So this is one of the other ones, the Creemore Premium Lager. This is an excellent one.
Let's get that up a little closer to the camera.
Again, available at the LCBO. The other one is Bose from Ottawa. Bose, B-E-A-U.
Is that the lug tread?
The lug tread, yes.
Yeah.
There wasn't any. It was sold out. It's a good beer as well.
But it's easy to drink, and it's got a little creamier mouthfeel to it.
Yeah, the lug tread is a little bit more bitter.
A step up from that Bud Light level stuff.
Yes, I think that the organic, the London Brewing Co-op is a bit more approachable than the lug tread myself. The Creemore Lager is very good. I think it's a little, like I said, a bit more creamier than this one. But if my money was on it, I would be going for the Brewing Co-op.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah. Cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you want to go? You want to take another trip?
I would love
Another
to
beer
take
trip?
another trip.
Another beer trip. So,
which one are we going next?
Do you want to do this one next?
And I don't.
You don't want to do this
No,
one?
what do we have instead?
Do you want to do this one?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's do this one. This is fun. Okay.
Okay, so if you're looking at, like I said before, if you're looking at, say, supplying 4 types of beer for your wedding, you got to have something lagery or pilsnery, because you need to have something that's easy for the people who are like, get beer that tastes like beer. You also want something that's a little more flavorful, something that has a little more color to it, a little more hop, a little more malt to it. And for me, I would be going for something that's an easy drinking brown or an amber.
Or a red.
Well, yes, and that'll be coming up soon in one of our shows. But an amber, I think, is probably the most approachable next step after the lager. Reds, sometimes people have a difficult time. I know that some reds make me sneeze a ton, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Browns are sometimes a little too flavorful, but an amber adds just that extra little bit for somebody who wants to step up from the lager.
Yeah.
This will placate the people who are beginning beer snobs.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to us, which are like high-level beer snobs. The snobbery is strong.
I don't know.
I
just
would
oh,
no,
okay.
definitely snobs.
Okay,
for beer.
sure. Okay. You're a coffee snob.
I am certainly a
Yeah,
coffee
yeah.
snob. I spend lots of money on coffee.
The other thing with browns, so if
Maybe
you're
I had a
thinking,
little too much before tonight.
I think so.
Whee!
A little bit too much espresso.
You son of.
Espresso. I'm just kidding.
Mhm.
One of the things about browns, though, or stouts, as we get darker in the ambers, brown, and stout idea, is that usually they are enjoyed around the winter, colder season.
Yes.
So browns, I enjoy them all year round, but I know some breweries even don't produce a whole lot of them until the fall or something like that. However, there's some really great ones that are available all year round.
A lot of people won't have stouts or porters in the warmer months. They'll save them explicitly for those colder months.
True, but then there's whole countries that drink nothing but them all year round. So
That sounds like a fun country.
it is.
Can I interrupt and ask a Guinness question?
Is it
Sure.
your show?
Well,
It's your show.
You can
Sure,
interrupt whenever
sure.
you want.
Perfect.
I mean, I give you permission. Go ahead.
Thank you. So speaking of stouts, which Guinness is,
Guinness
correct?
As am I. Go on.
So is Guinness gluten-free?
Guinness is not gluten-free. Gluten-free. It is a.
Well said.
It is vegan though.
Okay.
Okay.
So most beers, the clearing agent, if it's filtered,
Mhm.
there's a clearing agent that is. I think they actually have like is it from fish bones or something
yeah,
like that.
if
Is
it's
that right?
the same as in
forget
wine,
what
it
it is.
would be Kisasol or Kaiserslautern,
That's right. That's
which
it.
is
Yeah. Look at you.
from fish.
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah. So Guinness,
Fish and brown.
that's right. Fish and beer. The beer with the great taste of fish.
Fish.
Um,
Oh my God.
oh my God.
I
Okay,
should've
let's
kept knowing
regroup
This was gonna.
I trout you not. So anyways,
What the hell is
I'm
that?
so sorry.
anyways, but Guinness, to my knowledge, does not have that. I did have a friend who was vegetarian, and I asked him over for a beer one time, and he said, "Well, do you have any vegetarian beer?" And I said, "Dude, they're all beer." And he said, "No, they're all." And then he went into it, and I said, "Well, I'll have Guinness." He said, "Oh, I'll drink that." I'm
Okay.
assuming.
Okay. I had an uncle who couldn't eat a lot of things but could drink Guinness. So
Oh, okay.
in some part of my head I thought that was the case, but
Yeah.
Was he Irish?
no.
Oh. I
German.
don't know where I was going with that.
Okay.
I'm not sure either. Okay,
All right.
so let's
Hey,
get back on track.
German. That's a good
That's a good segue right there.
That's a segue. So the
It's
beer
a
that
thing
we're
you ride, isn't it?
yes. So the beer we're choosing is the Newstead 10W30.
Did you say that word again?
Newstead.
No, it says Neustadt.
Yes. So
Neustadt.
Newstead.
Neustadt. Where's Newstead?
Newstead is just between Hanover, Clifford, and Mildmay, which is
Nobody
up by,
knows where those places are.
It's up by Walkerton where the big water tragedy
That's where
was.
they know.
Yeah, unfortunately they know that. Anyways, Newstead is a tiny little town. This brewery's been there forever. It's changed names a number of times. When I was a kid, actually, I grew up there, and I got to actually go under the brewery before these guys actually opened.
Is there like an interconnected cave
There
system?
is actually, there's cave systems that actually go throughout the town. Most of them are caved in now, but there was a number of hotels that were close by, and there was underground tunnels that you could go down there. It was really quite cool.
This might be the coolest story you've ever told about your hometown.
I've
Yeah.
been down there too, actually.
I went into the
really?
caves.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
With
Okay.
my dad.
So
when
this
I
is
was
a real
super
thing?
little. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was originally called Crystal
I'm going
Springs?
camping this
Yes.
week.
Crystal
Something like
Springs,
that.
I think.
Yeah.
So now it's called Newstead, Newstead Brewery. And so 10W30 is their brown. And it's, the funny thing is when they first brought this out, I had a friend a bunch of friends that live in Toronto, and they actually found this on tap at one of their watering holes. And they were saying how great this beer is and everything else. And I said, yeah, I drink this all the time. It's awesome. And so it's quite far afield, which is excellent. 10W30, if you're not aware, it refers to motor oil. Now, this is not dark as motor oil.
Yeah, right in
You
there.
can kind of see through it on it. Yeah, you can see the backdrop through it. It's dark brown, but it's certainly not. It's not
Darker than dark brown.
darker than dark brown. I'm the
Molasses.
linguist here. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Oh, good. So you can pick up on the molasses
I
because
smell molasses.
oftentimes
Yes.
the malts will add an element of sweetness and of the darker sugar flavors that you would get, like molasses, brown sugar,
Mhm.
other things that are dark and sugary.
Yes. So this one actually won number of world beers and Canadian Brewing Awards.
Which
over the
ones?
years. So it won the World Beer Cup.
Do you think they serve the beer in it? In
Not
the World Beer Cup?
No, they don't do that.
They drink from the cup?
No, Jason.
Is it like the
It
Stanley
is
Cup?
not the Stanley Cup, although I
just-
have some Stanley Cup stories. But
Don't
you
tell
do.
the Stanley
Okay,
Cup
anyways.
stories.
It also won the Canadian Brewing Award in 2004.
Awesome.
Oh wait, sorry, silver medalist for that one. But anyway, excellent beer. Yeah, so you can
that's
certainly get
wonderful sweet flavor.
So you can certainly get all of the caramel kind of taste.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very. It definitely. I wouldn't say that it's sweet, but it tastes.
Oh, it's got a sweet
sweeter.
finish.
Yeah, like it definitely.
But the
is-
problem is, you don't want to say that it's sweet because there's still the bitterness there at the very end. And that bitterness is offset by the sweet.
I feel like this one's less bitter than the last one, which wasn't bitter at all.
And
so.
and maybe it is. I haven't checked the IBUs on it, but it's harder to tell once you've got some of that sweet malt in
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, there is hops in this, but I don't think they actually. Yeah, I don't think they say what the IBU is on this one,
But very malty. So the more malt you have in there, typically the darker color you're going to get, but not always. And it's also going to have a bit of a sweeter finish.
Yeah, this certainly has a sweeter finish. This is more like related to, in color and the middle body of the beer to like an English bitter or something like that, but without the bitterness. It's nice and
I
sweet.
think the sweetness here helps to remove that bitterness quite a
Mhm.
bit. Nice color, not a lot of bubbles in it. You can see that it's a very still beer.
Mhm.
You get the slightest amount of head at the beginning, but that disappears rather quickly.
Very quickly. Yeah.
There's a punchline there.
Yeah, this is a very approachable brown. It's not, like you said, it's not bitter. It's not super sweet, but it leaves a nice aftertaste in your mouth.
And the problem is, for the people who only ever drink Bud Light, will think that this is way too much flavor. This will be too much for them. But for the people who fashion themselves a little bit more of a beer connoisseur, this is an excellent approach. This has a good front taste. That sweetness is there, the bitter finish, but it's also full-bodied in the middle.
Yeah. So I mean, this is certainly much more flavorful than some of the commercial examples. So like if your family was into Rickard's Red, which is still essentially just a lager. Really, it's an ale, but it's as close to a lager as you could get as a red.
Can I speak to why that is?
Sure.
Thanks. I don't want to, but no. If you have a beer that's going to be widely available, then you need to make it as approachable as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So any of those brands that you've heard of that are famous across the country or even around the world, like Guinness, like Creemore, like Labatt, like Molson, any of those beers are going to be more approachable than something that's locally done because they need to be able to appeal to a wider market. But the nice thing about having craft breweries is they can appeal to a very niche audience and really deliver something that's crafted in the way, pun not intended, literally that's the way it's supposed to be used, in the way that appeals to what they want to make. They don't have to appeal to millions and millions of people. They need to appeal to that small group that really likes what they do.
Yeah, that being said, they also certainly want to sell beer. So
Of course.
Now there are breweries, we have some in the area that are the beer. Like
The hoppiest.
the brownest, the highest alcohol, this. And so you look at their whole thing and it's interesting, it's interesting to taste them, but it's certainly not a brewery that I go to and buy their beers, unfortunately. I want to support them, but it's not something that I want. I still really just like drinkable beer.
Mm-hmm. You're going to get some flavors when you get a brown or an amber like this. You're going to get, rye bread. The taste of the crust there. You're going to get a little of that in the finish. You're going to get a little toasty flavor in there. So, and the interaction that happens when you heat up the bread and the starches turn into sugars and become a little crispy there, you're going to get that flavor. And they're all going to be subtle. It's still going to taste like beer, but the secret is trying to pick up on those subtle. It's like a game for people. Like
and even sometimes raisin. I get a little bit of raisin and like dark plum, like a prune almost.
I'm not getting prune off this, but I am getting the sweetness.
Yeah,
and I can see why that molassesy flavor. Molassesy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as someone who appreciates craft beer, I'm going to go to a wedding. They're going to have both the London Brewing and the Newstead on there.
Nice.
Newstead.
They've got a lager. They've got a. This is a red or this is a brown.
This is a brown.
This is a brown. Am I gonna drink what I prefer all night? Am I gonna switch it up? Am I gonna start with the lager and then I'm gonna go into the brown after dinner?
That's a tough question.
If it were me, I would be kind of, if you can, I would be interested to see if you could actually have little tasters, like you'd have a shot, like the plastic shot things, and
or
just have
something that size.
Even just as a taste for some people that want to just taste it to see if they like it. So
or
you could
something that size. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, but I was just thinking like that. They would usually have like Jello shooter or like alcohol shots at a wedding in the plastic little cups, and then you could just sort of have a couple sitting around a beer, and if people want to try it, oh, I like that, or have a little bit, I don't like that. And even if you take one can in the night and have it sitting there and just kind of, as you go through, I don't know, it might maybe entice a few people to try it. I don't know.
And that being said, you might want to consider the order in which you drink the beer. If you start with something that's really hoppy, and then you go to a lager, that lager is going to taste like water.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to consider that as you approach it. So if you do want to try everything, have a good time, especially if it's a, what do you call that bar? Not a cash bar?
Host?
I wouldn't know because cheap. But nonetheless, you want to try it all, but you want to be conscious of how what you have before is going to influence the way you perceive the next thing. The second point of fact, you were talking about having a can of, say, something left out. Some of these darker beers taste better warm.
Yes.
So if you have a brown or if you have a bitter, consider just, leave a little in the can and see if it changes the flavor profile. Sometimes it'll add middle flavor. Sometimes it'll remove it. It changes the way it tastes.
Yeah. Yeah. For the darker beers, it certainly does. Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes I've had some where it changes it, and it's so much better, so much more balanced in the mouth and with all of that stuff. And others have had, and it's, nope, should have had that cold.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have some other ideas for browns and ambers?
The other browns, actually, so there's Cameron's Amber. Yes. The Cameron's Amber.
And that's
would
an
be a
easier
nice-
one to approach than, say, this Neustadt one.
Yep.
Neustadt. Neustadt.
Yes, well, because it's a red. This is one of my favorite ones. This is a Cowbell, which is up in Blythe, and it's Doc Purdue's Bobcat. So West Coast red ale. This is a very nice beer as well. Very approachable. All of them are available in the LCBO.
And if you're in the mood, go up to Cowbell and check out their facility. It's gorgeous.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Really nice place.
Yeah, for sure. Worth the drive. Yeah.
Don't they have a beer named after one of your ancestors?
They do. Yes. It is actually a brown. Yes,
Ah,
they really do.
excellent.
All right.
So, do you want to go to...
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Me
So
too.
this is my wheelhouse. This is what I like.
Okay, you take it away.
All right. So next we're going to talk about IPAs. And if you're sitting there going, oh, I like IPAs. I drink Keith's IPA all the time.
Keith's is not an IPA.
No, Keith's
It
is
used to
closer
be.
to a lager. Yes.
It actually used, so I did some research on this.
Was it Labatt IPA, the one that came in the stubbies?
No, it was
Okay.
different. So originally Keith's was an IPA. The beer was an IPA. But in the 50s, there was a lot of breweries that were going under. And so to make it more drinkable and more approachable and sell more beer and stay afloat, because it's in Maritimes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Boat joke. Anyways, to keep it afloat, because it's also right at the water. It's a beautiful spot.
The
It's
joke's
going
kind
through
of
it.
keeling over.
Oh, it sunk.
I bowed before you.
Oh, boy.
Wow. Anyways, they turned it into a lager.
Yeah.
So it truly actually is a lager now. It is not an IPA, even though they say it.
Well,
So
this one
how can
definitely
they-
is.
How can they get away with marketing it and branding it as an IPA if it's not an IPA? Isn't
Yeah.
that like
I don't-
misleading marketing?
I don't know,
or...
but the all of the research that I've done is saying that it used to be, and it is not anymore. So I don't know if there's a fine print on there that says, Keith's, IPA was established.
May not
in
be an
whatever.
IPA.
I don't know, something, I don't know. But that is certainly the research I've had. I've gone to the brewery. It's a beautiful spot and gorgeous little basement where we can roll the barrels down to the boats and stuff. Really neat.
We
Anyways,
should
let's
have a
talk
chat
about
with Cassandra about that, actually. Cassandra's father was somehow involved in their something with Keith's. I don't know.
Oh, like
Yeah.
out there?
That sounds like a
out
great
there.
story.
Oh.
I
Somehow
know.
involved with
Clearly,
something.
clearly,
There
I don't
was
know the
something
story,
involved,
but he.
I assume
he
that your
worked with
clientele
Keith's for years.
knows that Cassandra's.
Cassandra is one of our lead coordinators
Okay.
at Unmistakably You, but
Oh.
yeah,
Anyway.
he worked there.
Oh, okay.
So Anderson Ales is here in London, Ontario. It's in the East End, bit of an industrial neighborhood, but they host events all the time. They occasionally have live music, and they easily have 6 beers on tap at any given time, sometimes up to a dozen. And if you go to their once a year events, they have dozens and dozens of
Yeah.
beers on tap. But this IPA is probably their flagship as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
It's only the slightest bit of haze to it, and it's got a very strong nose to it.
Yeah.
So when you smell it, it's got a bit of a dank smell to it. So some people equate that to fresh tobacco or fresh marijuana. It smells a little bit of, it's a bit of a sour smell, and that's by design.
Yeah.
You really want, this is going to have hops in it like Galaxy hops and Mosaic and Citra, the hops that tend to have that bright scent that's very powerful.
Yeah. Very floral, very fruity smelling, like grapefruit pith, that kind of smell to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It smells just like
So
fresh.
yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
fresh and green smell.
Yes.
Mhm.
Very nice.
And then on the tongue, it hits you at the back of the throat first, and then it kind of crawls forward on the tongue and activates that. And you're getting that smell amplified 1,000 times.
And then it's super bitter.
Well,
or like what I would call super
oh,
bitter.
yes.
Yeah.
IPAs are designed to be some of the most bitter beers.
The modern ones, yes.
Yes, true. Some of the older style are more balanced and easier to drink, but this is certainly a more modern IPA.
Well, actually, I would. So this is So the funny thing. So we should probably talk about the differences in IPAs, because sometimes you can get IPAs.
No, I want to test you on that. Don't look.
Okay. So
All right.
sometimes IPAs are
trying to discredit me, aren't
West
you?
Coast. They're West Coast IPA, and then there are
Oh.
New England.
There's New England IPA, West Coast IPA, South American
but-
Pale Ales. You've got all sorts of IPAs.
I know, but if we look at the two.
Hey, do you want to hear the history of the IPA?
No.
Oh
Okay.
boy.
Anyways, if we look at the two though, because this is kind of important, because if you get one, like can you grab those 2 front cans there? I should present. So the New England, or what we call hazy or juicy. So
This isn't a hazy juicy.
this is the Anderson is not.
No.
No, but what I'm trying to say is this says IPA on the can,
Yes.
and so but this is a very different type of beer.
Yes, it is.
So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. So if it says hazy or juicy IPA, it's more of a New England style. And sometimes they literally taste like a juice box. Like this one is literally from Sons of Kent. It's called Juice Box. It is excellent. It is a very, it tastes like it looks like and tastes like you're having a bit of orange juice or grapefruit juice or something along those lines with some effervescence and
Then does
and
it
all that
have
stuff,
the
so-
same bitter finish, or are the
the-
juicy ones not as bitter?
it depends a little bit.
Oh,
It really does, because
Loaded
sometimes the
question.
juicy ones
Yeah.
give you a little more sweet that offsets the bitter.
Yeah.
But this is the style. It used to be that nobody made hazy IPAs because they thought it was a bit uncultured or unrefined, and all of the IPAs were filtered.
Mhm.
But then people realized, wait a minute, it tastes kind of great when we do this. And who cares if it's a little hazy?
Yeah.
Just because it's not well filtered doesn't mean that it's not a good beer. And so these hazy, juicy IPAs are they're that level of beer where they're just, let's not worry too much about it. You might see some residue in the beer, some floaters coming up through it in those ones. Whereas this IPA, it's just going to pour cleanly. It's only the slightest bit of haze.
Yeah.
But even then, you would never call it a hazy.
No.
Oh, by the way, if you don't know what haze means, it just means that it's getting a little translucent as you look through it, instead of the clean beer that we got with the lager that we did at first.
Yeah. So the Anderson IPAs, I feel, if you're looking at a wedding, this is much more approachable for your guests.
And yet,
than
this
something-
might be the one I'd buy the least of. This is for adventurous beer drinkers.
This is what I would drink the least of.
Yes.
If I grabbed a sip of this, I would not. I mean, it's good, but it is more bitter than what I would like.
This is for those people who've done a lot of craft beer tastings and have determined that they want something adventurous, something that challenges the taste buds.
Yep. And usually also this is higher alcohol. This
was
is
just
like
gonna say
6.5% usually. I think this one is 6.5.
Yeah, something like that.
Although they do have session IPAs, which are always below 5%, that aren't quite as full-bodied with the flavor, but will still have the front tongue and the back of the tongue, that beginning and ending flavor finish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, ask me. What do you
So
want?
Jay,
Yeah.
what do you think it is? So the lager that we tasted first was 18
Yeah.
IBU. So this, what's your guess where this comes in?
Well, you can. I'm going to guess first.
Yeah,
Because
I know.
again, she directed it to me first, and then you're like, can I guess too? Well, yeah, but like it was
I'm
to
gonna
me.
get a shirt that says "I'm bitter because of you."
Just put an
I'm
arrow on
bitter
it.
because of you.
This is a very hoppy IPA. It's not the hoppiest one I've had, but it's up there. I'd say anywhere from 55 to 65 IBU. It's powerful. It's got a lot of that bitter finish to it, and they don't shy away from it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say between 60 and 70.
It says on the can it is 60. So
Nailed
you're
it.
both
Nice.
right.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was
These
an awkward
guys
as
know
hell.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an enjoyable beer, but that's about as bitter as I would want to go.
This is not a beer you clang all night. This is there are beers that you want to have with food, like the lagers.
Yep.
There are some times you might want to have something darker with food if it complements it. But just like there are some wines that are sipping wines and some wines that are table wines, there are table beers and there are sipping beers, and this is closer to that sipping side of things because it is a complex, dense flavor that just keeps revealing different layers. Much like if you're doing a Scotch tasting, you might have flavors that sit there right at the beginning and then 20 seconds later somewhere else and somewhere else, and then the next day at noon you're like, I'm still getting a little hint of something from this Islay Scotch I had the night before. Same thing here. You're tasting this beer to get the whole experience of the beer, not to wash down the steak you eat.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it wouldn't taste great with a steak. I'm just saying that's not what it's really for.
Yeah. And this one actually really does change taste as it warms up as well. Like we said with the browns and stuff like that, these IPAs, I feel they get more bitter as they warm.
Yeah, I prefer these ice cold. As cold as possible in a chilled glass.
Yeah. If they're more bitter, for sure, absolutely.
Yep.
Which is something that you need to be very careful of if you're running your own bar at a barn on a 40-degree day.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly. Yeah. Trying to keep everything.
40 degrees Celsius?
Yes.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's chilly day. It just kind of keeps itself.
No, Celsius. We live in Canada, dude.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy these beers, but I also prefer aggressive beers. I like beers that challenge me a little bit. I like beers that make me go, oh, what's that flavor?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's beer. I like that. So,
it's beer flavored.
but yeah, this has the littlest hint of lemon in the finish. It has the littlest hint of lime. So those really sour, but citrus type fruits. But it's just that package of hoppy bitterness that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And it's right there at the beginning, the end, the middle, all over the place, fills the whole mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I have been known to sit in a bar and say to the server, I like hops. I do. I like that citrusy. I like the pineapple. I like those tropical kind of flavors that you can sometimes get from them. But I don't love the bitter, which that's the New
England. That you like these ones.
The other one that he hasn't mentioned yet is the Flying Monkeys, and I love the name of this one. It's called Juicy Ass. This is an excellent IPA, and it is exactly as the title says. That is one juicy beer that'll knock you on your ass because it's 6.5%.
Yeah.
So maybe be cautious when you're serving that as well.
Yeah, frankly, I wouldn't choose these over the Anderson because the Anderson's easier to get into, but those are excellent beers with a juicy flavor that I really love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I'll finish my beer. I'm a little slow. I talk too much.
No, I think it's good. Lets me drink more.
I suppose that's true.
Okay. This is a fun one.
So if you have one beer for the people who like Bud Light, and you have another beer for the people who think they're craft beer drinkers but they don't like something too aggressive, and then you have a beer for those people who are craft beer drinkers and they like something aggressive, you've covered 3 bases. What we haven't covered is that one beer that will change every season.
That is correct.
So In the winter, you might want something darker. In the spring, you might want something brighter. In the summer, you might want something lower alcohol, more refreshing. In the fall, you might want something that has a little bit of those fall flavors. And yeah, I'm not talking necessarily a pumpkin spice beer, although those exist.
They do.
Yes, you have to wear Uggs and have an infinity scarf while you order it,
And never take your head up from your phone.
and a slouchy hat.
So-
And use
so
glottal fry.
So no pumpkin ale at weddings.
Well, I wouldn't recommend a pumpkin ale at wedding, but
You're not gonna,
since you
you're not gonna sell
mention it,
much.
I might consider a saison, because a saison will have that clove finish to it,
Yep.
just the smallest amount of sour. That would be really nice in October, November,
Mhm.
or maybe even into December.
Okay.
Yeah.
A saison.
A saison.
Saison.
You might also
Okay.
see it marketed as a farmhouse ale,
Yes.
but what we're going to talk about here, I'd say, is perfect for a summer wedding.
This is really fun.
Yeah.
So the brewery is Railway City. Railway City Brewing is in St. Thomas, Ontario.
Nobody knows where that is.
St. Thomas, Ontario is just south of London by about half an hour.
Mhm.
And it's called Railway City
You mentioned.
because it is actually where Jumbo, the elephant, met his demise.
Oh.
So this is from the Barnum and Bailey Circus. Well,
Correct.
actually, it was just P.T. Barnum at the time.
Yeah, I think so, sure.
I know so.
Anyways, so the big
That's
elephant
smart.
with the big ears that didn't fly. So anyways, so this is the can. That's right. So St. Thomas was known, it was the railway hub of the area. All the railways ran through it. And so it's now called Railway City. And so the brewery is Railway City, one of the breweries in St. Thomas anyways. And this is their creamsicle ale.
Not creamsicle.
Not creamsicle, because
Creamsicle.
that's
Ale.
registered, trademark.
Yeah.
This is creamsicle ale.
And-
Creamsicle ale.
And of course, when you go into that, what do you want? You want a beer that tastes like ice cream.
Yeah, like orange, tangerine, all that stuff with the vanilla ice cream in there. Right?
So the way they do that, there's something called lactose sugar. And lactose sugar is derived from dairy. Yeah, right? But what they
It
do
smells
is
like a creamsicle.
it's
they
amazing.
put it into the beer,
Oh,
and lactose sugar will give that creamier mouthfeel. And as you can tell from their reaction,
it just smells like fresh, not super bitter oranges. It smells like mandarins and vanilla.
but it still smells like beer.
It really
It's
does.
not like ice cream in a glass, although there are beers that are like that. Bell City has one.
Yes, they do. Yeah, this still tastes like beer, but isn't that nice?
Doesn't it have a great finish?
I would drink that all day.
I know. Yeah, and 4.8% alcohol.
You
So
probably could. Well,
yeah,
you
it's
could.
not super
Yeah.
not super high.
Lower.
Just the average kind of beer.
Yeah.
It's a little bit hazy, but it's not crazy. It's filtered still.
And it's not the fresh orange flavor. It's the popsicle orange flavor.
yes,
It's tang.
yes. Actually,
I like
that's
tang.
Tang, yes, like the drink.
Yeah, that's it.
As I was doing our trivia show last night, I was drinking Robin Sparkles,
Mm,
Robin Sparkles is
which
great.
is also orange and
From Storm
vanilla,
State.
but very different.
yes.
But also orange and vanilla.
Yeah, but this is more
But
of the sweet orange vanilla,
It
and that's
is.
more
It's
of the.
very. It's got a
overtones.
sour edge to it.
Yeah.
That's
as
a
well.
beer first flavored beer.
Mhm.
I don't mean to sound like a misogynist, but this is the kind of beer that the woohoo girls might really enjoy.
Yeah, this is a really nice beer.
Well, as I said, I could drink that all day. I was like, oh, what a girly thing to say.
No,
Which is
no, I could
very, yeah.
I could drink this all
Sorry
day.
to be sexist.
You are
but-
also a woohoo girl.
I have been known to do that.
I'll sit back with my
Woo!
IPAs and judge you.
Yeah, that's okay.
No,
I'm happy.
this is a good beer. It's a little sweeter, well-rounded, easy to clang all day if you want to, and
But very approachable. Like
Ah.
from the idea of having at a wedding, I think this is a really approachable beer. And I think if you had a couple people that were adventurous enough to try it that didn't know it, I think they would be saying, "You got to try this. You got to smell this. You got to try it."
this would be the quiet underground hit of your wedding.
And I think this would be a great thing to put in instead of, if I'm recommending beer for a summer wedding, I'm often
Yes.
saying, you want to put on a Corona, the beer, not the virus.
Yeah.
This would be a great replacement for that because it's that light, fresh, approachable, not super high alcohol
That's right.
I think this would be a great
Yeah,
summer kind of light option.
Absolutely. There's not a whole lot of body to it in that sense. It's not like a brown or a red that has a lot of body in the middle of it. It tastes very much like a lager in that idea that it's very drinkable. It's very crisp still, but still has a little bit of sweetness. And the vanilla is just really nice. The vanilla is just so nice.
It is. And if for whatever reason this is not something that you're comfortable getting or something you can't get at the time, having a summer, that fourth beer in the summer, having something fresh and fruity tasting is a great idea. So creamsicle kale is a wonderful choice. That would be my first. Another choice might be something along the lines of a radler.
Yes.
Radlers, for those who don't know, if you're not uninitiated, they were developed in Belgium, and this guy had this bicycle path that came right by his bar, and people rode up, and one day he had 1,300 people show up, and he didn't have the beer for that. So he started cutting his beer with this juice or pop or something, and the Radler was born. So the Radler is half lager or pilsner, so light, easy drinking beer, and half fruit-based pop or juice. So in this case, I think you've got one here that's with grapefruit pop.
So this one is a little bit different. This is grapefruit and tangerine. This is the Pump House. So this one is one of my favorites, but it is LCBO. But it's sometimes a little bit hard to find because it's really great.
Where's it from? Where's the Pump House?
So this one's actually from St. John, New Brunswick. And if you ever get a chance, Pump House Brewery is just a gorgeous little spot. Great food, nice patio. Been there a number of times, and one of my favorites on the East Coast. Anyways, the other ones you could get are Stiegel, Radler.
Oh yeah, Waterloo,
the Waterloo
pineapple. Oh, so good.
Very,
so
very
nice.
That one's amazing.
Those Radlers like Stiegel and Waterloo are around 2.5% alcohol. This one is actually almost 5. That's
a rarity when it comes to Radlers.
Yes, it really is. This is and it doesn't taste it. That's the scary thing. This doesn't taste any different alcohol than the other ones.
So I've seen the grapefruit. I've also seen lime and peach. I saw kombucha Radler.
Yeah, the Ace Hill has a lime, which is quite nice.
Yeah, that one was good. Now, this covers that fruit side of things, but we have so many dietary restrictions out there that sometimes you've got to be considerate of that too. And we already talked about the vegan beer as being a bit of an issue for some people, but gluten-free seems to be a little more common now than it ever has been.
Yeah.
So maybe you want another choice there.
Yeah, so then...
it's called a segue. I segued into this.
This is good.
If I point it out, it's less good.
Wow. This is one of my favorites. This is the Thornberry Cidery. It is up in Thornberry, which is up the Bruce Peninsula.
What a shock.
I know. It's been around for quite a long time as an area of growing apples. The cidery this one has only been open since I think 2007. It says, but this is an excellent cider. It's also, like you said, it's gluten free. Most ciders are. I don't know if all of them are though.
Yeah, but most are.
But most are.
There are also a couple of gluten-free beers out there that you can find, but I'm not familiar with them because glutinous flavor. So
yeah.
Just before we go any further, if anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them into chat. We're happy to answer your questions. We may not give you the right answers, but we'll make up something that sounds like it's really smart. So if you have any questions, throw it in there. We're happy to.
I'll probably tell you the right answers. He'll just make something up that's funny.
See, he says that so he gets more credibility, but it's not going to work.
I know.
Regardless, so yeah, talking about Thornbury, plenty of ciders out there. You might have a cidery very close to you. You might want to check out what they have as well.
Yeah, Strongbow are some of the bigger ones. What are some of the other ones? Strongbow.
Not a cider drink, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
But now you're in it. Now you got to come up with some names.
Well, I don't know.
There's Angry Orchard.
Angry Orchard. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you want to think about the sweetness as well. I mean,
Yes,
I am
for
not a fan of sweet drinks, so I would be the
You and me
last
both.
one to order a cocktail off of the menu. I'm going to do wine. I'm going to do beer. I'm going to do something dry
Scotch.
every time.
Mhm.
If you give me a glass of bubbly and it's sweet, I would almost not drink it. Almost.
Almost.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So just be careful because some ciders are very sweet,
Yes.
which I mean is maybe good going down, but not awesome the next day if
Now,
somebody's drinking a lot.
The interesting, actually, now then when you said winery. So do you remember what was that winery that was just north of Grand Bend?
Cornerfield,
Cornerfield, I think, is a winery, just a small winery, newer.
really small. It's just people's farm.
Well, yeah,
But they have a showroom.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Nice little spot. And their winemaker there is absolutely excellent. Some really great wines coming out of a little small spot.
You remember I walked in and I was like, how long you been open? And she's like, oh, we've been open since Mother's Day. I said, well, nothing says great wine like
new
being 3 weeks old.
It was the most.
And then I tried their wine and I ate my words.
It was excellent.
And I walked out with so much of it.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah. The funny thing is, we actually went there to try one of the ciders.
Yeah.
That was made on site. And their cider that they make is excellent. Their apple cider that they make at a winery is phenomenal. I have gone in 5 cases.
Phenomenal. Did you put an accent to AQ on there?
I was emphasizing.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal. It's excellent. The only drawback is it's very, very bubbly. I gave it to one friend. He thought he was going to choke. It was really funny.
So coming back to the beers, when it comes to it, if you're doing something in the summer, a lager, something with a little more flavor like an amber, an IPA, and then your wild card. So if in the summer it's going to be something fruitier, in the fall I'd go for something a little spicier like a saison. In the winter I might go for something a little darker, maybe a porter. There's some nice porters out there that have coffee flavors to them. Yeah. And then in the spring I might lean, depends on my mood, but I might lean towards, say, a wheat beer, which is also good for the gluten-free people. I think. Okay. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a doctor. I just like to study it.
Because I think wheat actually has gluten.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Why they can't have bread.
But Kawartha Lakes has a raspberry wheat that's really nice.
Yes, actually, yeah, the KLB, Kawartha Lake Brewery, KLB. Because I think on the LCBO app, I don't think you can find Kawartha. I think you have to actually.
No, you need a map for that.
It's an acronym.
So do we have any questions in the chat? We have a moderator here. Her name is Meg. Megarator, do we have any questions in the chat?
I see no questions in the chat.
We were that good?
Wow.
I know. You are just so thorough. You really did. So guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Can you tell people where to find you if they actually enjoyed your humor and want to check you out?
If they enjoyed.
Wow, that was left kind of a
Sorry.
You said actually enjoyed.
So
if they actually enjoyed.
You can find us in 2 places.
Knowledgeable beer information.
Knowledgeable beer information.
I know, I got nothing.
KBI.
Wow.
That's like it's KLB.
Yeah. Wow.
So you can find us in 2 places. We are on YouTube. Just search for Rural Juror Brewery Tour.
Easier to spell than it is to say.
For sure.
Yes.
And you can also go to ruraljurorBreweryTour.com or email us at ruraljurorBreweryTour@gmail.com.
And we're on Instagram at Rural Juror Brewery Tour.
Great SEO on that.
Group.
And there's a Facebook and all that stuff.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But yeah, check us out.
Rural Juror Brewery Tour. Very
and if you get the joke, if you get the idea right behind the name, let us know.
Sure. Sounds good. Although I kind of divulged in episode 8.
That's true. You did.
Yes. Yeah.
Spoiler.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I tried some things that I haven't tried, and it was very educational. And I think that
that's
we
us.
some
We're
great
smart.
ideas for you're super smart.
SMRT.
And I think some really great ideas for approachable things to put on the menu at your wedding. So thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we are talking about the difference between a cash bar and a host bar for people like Jay who doesn't know.
You're really good.
And then tomorrow evening we're talking about something else. Oh, tasting bars. That's what's
tasting
on
bars.
tap
That sounds
tomorrow.
good.
Yeah.
Are you giving
Scotch
samples?
tasting bars.
Yeah.
Caesar bars.
Are we invited back for the tastings?
Oh, it's not a tasting tomorrow night. We're just talking about tasting bars.
Oh,
So tasting the bar itself.
Okay, so
then
anyway,
with some bars you really shouldn't be looking the full. Anyway,
thank you so much for being here. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening and enjoy responsibly. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.